Hey guys, this is Andrei, a certified translator and a real estate concierge in Minsk, Belarus. And this is the weekly COVID and politics update. I have to make it more frequent because things change fast and there's a lot of things going on right now, as you know. So keep in mind that this is not a media report, this is my personal and somewhat biased digest from the stuff that I picked up online. So most unreliable and most biased, I assure you. Let's crack on. Our foreign ministry recently recognized that Crimea is the Russian territory in legal way, in geographical way, in political way. The Kremlin, however, said that this is not really a fact that the president has confirmed so far, and he would be the higher authority for that. And Ukraine, whether or not the Russians are happy with what the foreign ministry here says, Ukraine is very unhappy. So I guess that's going to bring us more reaction, negative reaction from the side of our neighbors. Speaking of the neighbors, you know that several thousand migrants from Iraq, Syria and other countries with, let's say, uneasy economic situation are now lining up before the barbed wire on the Polish side. Of course, I'll have to, double talk speaking about that stuff so as not to get my channel shut down just like my charming self. So let's just say for a few weeks, for a few months basically, the people from the Middle East were coming on tour packages, tourist visas no longer than 30 days. And somehow we're taking taxes from their hotels in bulk and by the crowd. We're gathering up in the western border area of Belarus. They were leaving their passports at the receptions and apparently with the intention to never come back. So right now they're having issues as the Polish that have put more troops on the borderline are basically kicking their groups back. By now you may have read the report about two groups of the Middle Eastern migrants having trespassed the border. By the way, I'm confused in the modern English guys, so forgive me for calling them migrants because they're not really tourists in my personal understanding as an ex-tour guide, that is. They were caught and sent back, and apparently there's a new legal change in Poland. They don't have to accept every soul that has stepped on their land. They have the right to kick them out to the country from which they trespassed. So obviously this footballing with human beings is creating certain tensions at the border. Shots are being fired apparently from both sides. You will see the video footages from both sides and both sides will blame each other for escalating. And I guess it's gonna have a very curious ending. Poland has locked up one of the border checkpoints. You'll check out the border control website map to see which one to avoid it if you're planning a trip. Well, I hope you are planning a trip through a different border. And secondly, Poland is promising to lock up the whole western border, like shut it tight from all civilian traffic if the situation continues, repelling some 600 attempts to trespass the border every night. I guess Lithuanians are having somewhat smaller number, but still they're quite active out there. And while the local defense ministry here is saying that we've put more aircraft and other things on the border territories to be ready for, the challenges of the time. It's hard to see what kind of challenges are coming from the migrants, so that the bombers and jets and all the other things were to be deployed to repel that. It's not really my trouble. My trouble is, firstly, the weather. Very cold weather is setting in and I'm a local. I feel very fresh in the mornings when I come out of the flat. You understand that those guys, some of them pretty well dressed for the winter, they were not cut for the winter weather. And as the temperatures will be dropping, there'll be more and more pessimistic pictures coming from the borderline. In light of this, that's the second thing. The Vatican guy said that, let's just call him Vatican guy, said that the EU must take up the responsibility for the refugees and take care of them and accept them and to, do all this stuff, resolve the crisis that emerges at the border. If anybody shows me a picture of a refugee tent in Vatican, I'll be very grateful, guys. Let's move on. The financial ministry here has updated its view about the annual deficit of budget, and apparently it's going to be more than 6 billion rubles. Right now the dollar exchange rate is dropping. Guys, you're printing too many. and the annual inflation rate is nearing 10%. Probably it's going to exceed that rate, that point. Thing is that the authorities, on top of other things, have upped the VAT for foodstuffs, for some children's goods and medications and a few other things, which triggered the increase of the prices. The next sanction package is about to hit us on the 8th of December, so some of you are asking in the comments what's it about. Guys, when it hits us, I'll be able to tell you what's it about. So far, I can tell you that statistically our export to EU has doubled compared to the same period of the previous year. The increase of the export also has an explanation. The sanctions that we introduced in summertime had a delayed effect, which were kind of an invitation to negotiations. And the impact will be there from next year on. So the things that they had in mind, the Western politicians had in mind against Belarus, will be felt from January on. The suspicion is, and I believe you will support that point, is that they will hit the ordinary people, the taxpayers who can't travel, who can't buy this, who can't order that and stuff like this. Tell me what you think in the comments and tell me if you think that the sanctions are going to make effect. The main buyer in the east is Russia. It's buying about 40% of our exports. The main buyers in Western Europe are Germany and the Netherlands, and most of the exports are not really published anymore. But we can assume that oil products, timber and potash, some of that has been sanctioned already, some of that is being stocked up before sanctions are in place, created excessive demand, and this doubled the figures compared to the previous year. That's as simple as that. By the way, one of the parliament members here in Belarus suggested that the people in Belarus, the citizens of Belarus who are calling upon sanctioning the country, must be arrested, if I got it right, their property is confiscated and their citizenship cancelled, something like this, so they can be creative in the parliament as well. Perhaps the sweetest topic, the unemployment. There are 24,000 official vacancies in Minsk. Every business must publish their vacancy in the single state bank for vacancies, so that they were officially available to applicants. Although if they need a special guy for the job, they'll recruit a special guy for the job, and this democracy thing will not help much. And the official unemployment rate in Belarus is 0.2%. That's the unemployed people who are officially registered as such from the number of the able-bodied people. The average unemployment allowance is about 26 rubles, and curiously enough, most of the unemployed folks are men, about 66%. I've had a casual look at the vacancies available now in Minsk. So pizza chef is promised from 1,000 to 1,700 rubles in Minsk. Consignments manager, the guy who prepares goods for shipment, and warehouse manager as well, from 1,000 to 2,300. Very dangerous job, because once in a while a box of stuff is missing and that's withdrawn from your salary. So I think twice before taking that. Pharmacist, 1,500 rubles. Remote support person, 1,000 rubles, dealing with all sorts of accountants software. Driver C category, that would be truck, basically grocery delivery, rolls around Minsk and probably unloads the boxes himself back and forth, 1,800 rubles or more. Or warehouse for car parts, 900 to 1,300 rubles. So these salaries are normally quoted including 13% income tax, which will be withdrawn, and 1% pension fund, which is going to be withdrawn as well. So they're not super handsome salaries, and when you actually get the job, the employer will find a way to. If you like, guys, I'll probably make a separate clip about work, employment and salaries in Belarus. For now, average salary seems to be, well, in Minsk roughly $450 US, outside Minsk in the provincial cities, in the major provincial cities, about $300, and outside major provincial cities, you have to struggle to actually find a job that has some kind of a payment for it. Meanwhile, COVID is cracking on through the country, but there's never more than 2,000 cases a day, and there's never more than 17 dead. I believe these were the figures for the 10th of November. And oxygen exports ban is in place, the medical oxygen, and the government has established the top prices by the oxygen companies that put them in the cans and deliver them to the hospitals to not be exceeded. So they have been set firm, so this may or may not result in the deficit of the oxygen, I guess, and they'll find a way to deal with that. Basically, we still have the same travel restrictions. Land border is only open for emergency visits like deaths, poor health conditions, I mean for incoming visits or business visits. The air is kind of open, except it's locked, save for a few options via Georgia, via Istanbul, Turkey, and via Moscow, where transit visa may be required, so it's not a really viable option for the Westerners. So I would say if you have a holiday travel here planned, maybe it's better to travel here before New Year than after. Something is coming and it's really hard to tell what. Guys, share your opinion under the video. There's a Russian army group muscling up somewhere by Smolensk. Shots are fired, warning shots are fired by the Polish border. Belarus is claiming the escalation of the migration crisis on Poland, and Poland is doing it backwards. What do you think is happening? I'm happy for all sorts of theories, including crazy theories, so tell me what you think. And if you were to travel to Minsk, I'm here. I'll be happy to have a coffee and a conversation, business or not, when I have free time. Thank you for supporting the channel. Shop responsibly, travel wisely, and hope to see you in Minsk someday. Cheers. Your opinion is very welcome.